Bill, any update? Do we know when we're getting these results?
Well, Marilla, initially they were saying any time between 4 and 6 Western, so 6 and 8. I'm just watching my laptop right now, and the screen just changed from sort of a generic United Conservative Party screen to results coming soon. It now says expected around 5:30 p.m. So here, that's in about 34 minutes. Well, anywhere it's in within 34 minutes, so that would be about 5:30 here or 7:30 out there in Ontario. So likely around that. And then shortly, of course, after those results are given by the party president, we're expecting to hear from Premier Jason Kenney, the current leader of the United Conservative Party, once we find out whether or not he is likely to remain leader.
Okay, so give me the rundown of the kind of support he needs, because we know that past leaders have had great support in a leadership vote, but still decided to resign. So where's Kenney at?
Well, he's not looking for much. 50% plus 1 is what he said he needs to remain on. As you say, that's low. I mean, you look at previous Alberta premiers, just in Alberta alone, Alison Redford, Ed Stelmach both had high 70s and still stepped down because of that intense internal pressure. Premier Kenney has faced that as well, but he hasn't really listened to that so far. Saying he only needs that 50% plus 1. So his team believes he's got it, believes he will get that, and Jason Kenney's been somewhat confident as well. We'll see when those numbers come down in about a half hour.
Okay, so about a half an hour from now is when we will hear back. What have you been hearing from members of the party in the run-up to this? We know a lot of them are generally unhappy with his leadership. They have some complaints, and they're saying they won't even accept the results if he does win support.
Yeah, and I mean, for those people, they don't really have that option. If they want to stay members of the party, if he wins this leadership review, then he's the leader, unless he chooses to step down. So, it's very likely if he passes through this that he will go into the election next year, 2023, as the leader of the United Conservative Party and the incumbent premier. We're hearing a lot of things. We are hearing from those members who are upset with Jason Kenney's leadership. We've been hearing that for basically 2 years since the pandemic started. We've been hearing about that. 2 MLAs have been kicked out of caucus for opposing him and criticizing him. One MLA was booted from cabinet, made a backbencher for her discontent with the premier. This has been a very divisive time for Alberta, with some people saying the premier needed to do more in terms of COVID measures. We were, as a province, typically the first to reopen after measures, and we typically open the widest. We were usually the last to adopt them. There were people saying do more, do what Ontario's doing, do what BC's doing. And there were others saying do less. And there were certainly members within Jason Kenney's own party saying do virtually nothing. There was a faction of the United Conservative Party that wanted essentially no measures in place, as did the protesters at Coots and in Ottawa. From within the party, you hear a very divided group of people say that over the last 2 years have been saying very different things. So should Jason Kenney, get above 50%, as he is expected to by his own insiders, he's got a job ahead of him, a big job, to try to make that United Conservative Party united once again, because right now they're quite divided. Okay,
so it's a new party. How united have they been in the past? Did they come together and were quite united from the get-go? Because this infighting sounds fairly intense, not like these two sides are easily going to agree moving forward.
Well, not to get too into the weeds, but remember, there was a Progressive Conservative Party of Alberta first. That split. It factioned into two parties, the Conservatives and the Wild Rose Party. Jason Kenney, blew into town, a former federal politician, in 2017 with one goal, and that was to unite the Conservative movement in Alberta. Brian Jean at the time was leader of the Wild Rose Party. They actually worked together before, duking it out for the leadership and put this United Conservative Party together. In 2017, things looked fairly united. You had a pretty clear message coming forward from this group that their prime sort of motive was to defeat the NDP government that was in place then. And in 2019, they did that. And really, the factions or the divide within the party started to appear after that, where you're almost looking at the old progressive Conservatives and Wild Rose factions within this party disagreeing on things. So that's sort of where that divide kind of started. And we didn't really see it on a level like this until the pandemic started, and we saw these two very, very different sides, these two very different takes on exactly how it should be handled.
Yeah, I would almost argue, though, the fracture was already there. Maybe they didn't do a very good job of cementing that when they came out as one party, but that fracture was already existing and just got a little wider, or a lot wider, I guess, during the pandemic. Bill Fortier, we'll check in with you again later on. Thanks for your time.